Guess who's back? Time for a comics review. And what month are we in right now? April. April's haul was a pretty good one. We got to start off, the last two issues of the Toxic Crusader. Issue 4 and issue 5. So in these last two issues, we see these books usually tend to start with a flashback. So in the issue number 4, it starts with a flashback of Melvin and Yvonne in the before times, before the toxic spill that caused him to turn into the Toxic Crusader, and them hanging out and him contemplating how much he loves her and how he's always wanted to tell her that he loves her, but he's never had the balls or the chance or whatever, and he wants to do it and plans on doing it soon. But in the current times, he's in the middle of a life or death fight against Bonehead, or Bryce, whatever his name is, one of the two kids that really tormented him in school before the accident. And so they're in this big fight, and it's kind of back and forth, and in the meantime, other people are fighting. Like the townsfolk have taken up arms against the alien bug invaders, and Yvonne didn't really believe Melvin about this thing, but once she sees the evidence, she's like, oh my god, yeah, all this stuff is real. There are aliens here trying to take over Earth or whatever. So the fight goes on, and eventually the Toxic Crusader, Melvin, he's not doing well in the fight, so he decides to escape through like a drainage pipe, and Bryce, or Bonehead, whatever his name is like calling him a coward and blah blah blah. So he takes this news back to the alien overlord guy that's running everything, and he's really pissed off that they let Melvin get away, and he's like, our situation here is botched. We just need to cut ties, get out of town, whatever. And so he's dumping gas all over like their building or whatever that they're operating out of. And Lydia, who was the representative of the Biohazard Solutions or whatever that was cleaning up the town after this accident, but was really just in league with the aliens, she's talking about how many clicks they're getting online and blah 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 to this alien guy, and he's like, enough of your shit, you're fired, sort of thing, right? So, and that's kind of where the issue ends off. Well, not quite. We see Melvin, he goes down a sewer and to try and escape Bonehead, and down there he meets the guy. I can't remember if he showed up in issue 1 or 2, but he was like an ex-Marine guy or something like that, who ended up getting mutated as well. But I think we thought he died, but he was still alive and he was underground hiding. So Melvin comes across him, and they're like, we got to do something about this. So that kind of sets up the last issue. So in the last issue, it's just basically an all-out war sort of thing. So Melvin, this Marine guy, Yvonne, Melvin's mom, they all board a school bus and then attack the alien people, and they end up running over the main alien guy that's leading the whole operation and kill him. And then it turns into just an all-out brawl between basically everybody involved close in this situation. And in the end, of course, the Toxic Crusader does his crusading and kills Bonehead, Bryce, whatever you want to call him. And as the issue, what else is going on in this? While Melvin is beating down Bonehead, two of the alien foot soldiers are trying to escape town in this kind of big truck, and I forget who it is, but somebody tracks them down and runs them off the road and kills them, and then opens up the back, and there's a bunch of other teenage mutants of the nice variety, not of the Bonehead variety, who the Toxic Crusader and his friends take in kind of and help them adjust to mutant life. So as the issue ends off, we see Melvin recovering from his injuries during the fight with all of his new friends and Yvonne and his mom around him, and talking about how this is the new normal in Tromaville. Well, on the backside, we got the aliens joining forces with some I think Bonehead's mom is one of them, and then some lady that looks really weird, looks like a cyborg or something. I don't know what she is, but they're reorganizing or whatever. So although this series is over, it kind of leaves things hanging with, okay, the thread isn't quite over yet. They're still going to try something. So whether we see more of these books and see where that goes, or if this is just the end of it and they just leave us on that kind of cliffhanger, I don't know. We'll find out eventually, one way or another. But either way, it was a short 5-issue series, but I had to get it. Normally, I just keep the Transformers, G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles in my realm of comics buying, especially now that I'm separated because I don't have as much money. So I stick to those ones. But the Toxic Crusader is such a neat character, and I remember watching that short-lived cartoon as a kid, and I really loved it. So when I saw these books available for like a short little miniseries, I was like, "Oh, I got to get these," sort of thing, sort of deal. So I'm glad I did, because the artwork's crazy, the story was really cool, it was violent, it was funny. It's everything you want in a comic book. All right, next up, just like we had a bit of a delay with the Toxic Crusader, I didn't have him in last month's video. I also didn't have Void Rivals in last month's video, but just like with Toxic Crusader, we got 2 issues here. Issue 15 and issue 16. So there's a few things going on to start these issues. The Quintessons abandoned chasing whatever it was they were chasing. I forget if it was the Pigman or whatever, to return home with news of, I think it's something to do with the chase or the hunt for Zerta Trion. Also, on that strange living ship, the G.I. Joe themed ship with the Pythona, led by Pythona, she is talking with one of her friends, Gracula, who had an incident in maybe the last issue, and her armor suffered some sort of radiation, and it's now almost growing things and becoming different. So she's keeping her eye on her because she thinks if something goes wrong here, we might have to deal with her, sort of thing. And soon enough, though, their ship is captured by he's from Transformers. He's that Pigman that looks like the Thing. He's all like, he kind of looks like he's made of rock, and I forget his name, but he shows up and takes their ship kind of captive, sort of thing. Now it shifts to the main aspect of the story. So Derek arrives in a ship on Agoria, his home planet, lands, meets his father. His father has an armed escort. Derek's a little like, why do you have like guys with guns to meet me in what I have to show you here? That might alarm him. So out comes Hot Rod from the ship. So this big giant transformer, everybody's kind of put off. Some of the guys start throwing rocks at them and stuff. And but Derek is like, he's cool. He saved me from some Zertonians, and he's just wants some answers on stuff. It's cool. So soon enough, Springer, who Derek also knew was in the city, shows up, and so Hot Rod and Springer are reunited, and they start talking about stuff. Like Hot Rod's like, yeah, the situation on Cybertron is getting even worse. How did you make out here? He's like, I didn't find Zerta Trion, and then I got stranded here. It's complicated, blah blah blah. So things seem okay on Agoria for now, but then Derek goes to talk to a friend of his, and is talking about the situation, and the guy's like, not here, your father has ears everywhere, sort of thing. So something's up. And then while all this is happening, on the other side, Solila is deep within that ring in the middle of the planet or whatever it is, looking for Zerta Trion. So she's in the middle of this big fall in the dark, in the pitch dark, and the android is like, aren't you worried we're going to splat on something? She's like, nope, Zerta Trion will provide. Eventually they come to a nice soft landing, and at the end of the issue, she ends up stumbling upon this big glowing orb thing, very Vector Sigma in Transformers, if you know the cartoon series, a big orb that has sentience and stuff like that. And so it introduces itself as Vector Theta, I believe it was. And so Solila obviously has some questions for this being or whatever it is. And into the next issue, it starts off going back to the Pigman who had captured Pythona and all her charges. So he comes and checks on them. brings them into his ship, and immediately they fight back. And he's like, "You think you could beat me on my own ship? Its walls obey my commands." And so he's pulling off all these moves on these people. And eventually, though, Gracula, who has the weird armor, she ends up slicing and dicing Pigman, cuts him in half basically. And I'm like, "Oh, Pigman's dead? Oh, fuck me." So that's what happens there. And then Python is like, "We're out of here. Let's go." In the meantime, Derek finds a quiet place to talk to his friend, who warned that his father had eyes and ears everywhere. They start talking about the situation. Soon enough, they're interrupted by Derek's father, who bursts in with guards, and they both get kind of stunned and shocked and taken captive, sort of thing. So something's obviously up there. He doesn't want the planets to be unified for some reason, so that's why he's working against his own son and the Transformers and whatever in this situation. And then the other aspect of the story, of course, goes back to Celila. So she has a conversation with this Vector Theta, and she says she's on this journey to find Zerta Trion, because she needs that Transformer's help, and kind of explains the situation. And Vector Theta basically only talks to her for a few minutes and says, "If you're looking for Zerta Trion, just keep following the path you're on," sort of thing. So Celila's like, "Oh, some help that is." So she keeps trudging through the darkness, and she comes to an edge of some sort of chasm or something, and she looks into it, and like just very lightly visible is the giant head of a Transformer. So I'm assuming it's Zerta Trion, and it appears at the right at the end of the issue, this being wakes up and says, "I somehow still function," sort of thing, you know. So there's obviously going to be a story there. But is this Zerta Trion that Celila did finally indeed find? I'm thinking so, but we won't know until next month, hopefully, if the issue is in my bin and I don't have to buy it on eBay because they forgot to put it in there last time. That's what the delay was. But anyways, fingers crossed, we got another Void Rivals next month, and we can get to the bottom of all of these mysteries. Third up, the Ninja Turtles. We got 3 issues today. The first 2 are the Night Watcher, issue 5 and issue 6 of the Night Watcher. Issue 7 is apparently going to be the last one of the series. So as these issues start off, we get a brief foreshadowing of a TV broadcast of this bear called Leo Ban, I think, who's in a zoo, and he's had injuries, and I think a couple of paws are cut off and stuff like that. So fast forward, after the mutagen bomb or whatever, he's been turned into a mutant, and that weird goofy looking mutant doctor that was played so much of a role in the Armageddon game arc, I forget his name, but he is shown in this flashback of then once this bear became a mutant, of giving him prosthetics and you know, helping him out, sort of thing. The next thing, flash forward, and we see this bear confronting the Night Watcher. The bear's kind of like a gangster criminal guy, sort of thing, in the neighborhood. So we see him and the Night Watcher fighting, and the bear has the Night Watcher on the ropes, sort of thing, and he rips off the helmet and he goes, "Jenny?" Like, so he knows Jenica and was kind of surprised that she is the Night Watcher. So then he's like, well, we're gonna fight, obviously. So they have a fight. He wants his goons to have nothing to do with the fight. He wants her all to himself. And after a while, he does get the drop on her, beats her up a bit, and she's down and out in her Night Watcher armor. But then, as him and his goons are kind of laughing and walking away, something inside of her biologically changes, and she turns into this weird big freak ropey creature thing, and it goes after Leoban and beats the Christ out of him, basically. And that's kind of where the issue leaves off. The start of the second issue, we see news reports of the Night Watcher hasn't been seen in ages. We don't know where he is. He's not protecting us anymore. And since Leo Ban, the criminal bear, disappeared, all of the goons under him have fractioned off into their own little factions and are now terrorizing each other, and in the process, all this collateral damage around the city, sort of thing. So we then see Jenica at home with this bear, Leo Band, kind of held captive in a cage, and they're talking about her situation, her life, the choices that have led her to her current circumstances, and then we see the Night Watcher out in the city, reacting to situations differently than you think Jenica would. So like turning on citizens and stuff like that. So as Jenica and Leo Ben are talking, we see that when she became that weird creature at the end of the last issue and turned into this weird mutant freak Night Watcher, it's almost like that entity separated from her, was born of her. And so Jenica still exists as Jenica, and this creature is all its own creature. So it's off running wild in the city. So then we see these other kind of segments of the story where Jenica goes after it and tries to capture it and bring it to heal, sort of thing. And she can't seem to do it. So as Jenica and Leoban's narrative moves on towards the end of the issue, we see him say to her, like, it's like a young child lost in the city with no frame of reference for life and whatever, and it's anger and stuff like that. And she's like, you need to get it focused. You need to find it a productive source of anger, sort of thing. And then the last panel we see is like Jenica and this Night Watcher creature about to square off, like Street Fighter style. Either that or they're coming to some sort of understanding. I don't know. But to me, it looks like they're in a fighting sort of posture. So we will find out next month where exactly that goes. But either way, it's going to be the end of the road. So all questions will be answered in April. Sorry, May. Right now is April. Yes. I'm losing it. Last up for Turtles, issue 5 of Mutant Nation. This one's a bit of a prequel to where this Mutant Nation series began. So it chronicles some of Raphael and his little pet mutant dinosaur thing, Pepperoni, their adventures before. You'll remember when Mutant Nation kicked off, he was working as a bouncer at like some bar in Arizona or something like that. So I think in this issue they're in Colorado, and they mentioned to the people in the diner they're at that they're on their way to Arizona, maybe Vegas if we get enough money, sort of thing. So it's before all those events of all the other issues. And so he's in a diner with Pepperoni, and they're having a meal, and Raph on his motorcycle out in the parking lot, he has a bag on it which is full of cash and his weapons, his size. So I don't know why he left them on the bike, but some criminal type comes in his pickup truck, sees it, grabs it, takes off. Pepperoni kind of notices it from the window, and she's trying to get Raph's attention, blah, blah, blah. Finally, he figures out what went on, and he's pissed off, more at himself than anything. And so Pepperoni's kind of trotting along beside him, and she gets her ball out, and she's like, oh, wants to play, and she kind of gets under Raph's feet, sort of thing. And he yells at her, like, would you just get out of my way or leave me alone, blah, 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 that sort of thing. And he's not pissed off at her, he's pissed off at the situation of his stolen bag and their current situation in general. So Pepperoni kind of slinks off, and then she goes on her own adventure. So most of the issue, it's focused on it. It's like a Pepperoni issue. So she tracks this guy down that stole the money and the size to his place of work, confronts him there, can't get, she sees the bag of money in his car, in his truck, through the windshield, but can't get to it. So she tries to confront him at his place of work. He fights back, kicks her out of the store. Then he leaves work later on, so she chases him to his home. While he's up sleeping or doing whatever, she breaks into his apartment through like a dog door in the door, and it's a cat door, because she finds 3 cats waiting for her inside the apartment, and they get into a bit of a tussle. And during this tussle, she's able to get the keys to the car off the key ring and zoom out the cat door with them. But all the ruckus they made in their little skirmish got the guy's attention, so he comes chasing after Pepperoni. So he's kind of caught up to her and is taking her out. before she can get into the truck and get the bag. But just then, Raph finally tracks her down and catches up, and well, deals with the situation, let's just say. So in the end, they get their bag back, their money, his weapons. Pepperoni and Raph are reunited, and they go for a nice little ride together and fall asleep under the stars on a blanket in a field or something like that. So all's well that ends well for Raphael and poor little Pepperoni. All right, by now you should know the routine. What's up next? That's right, Transformers, issue number 18, 2P Pacific. Really cool issue. There's basically 3 different arcs going on within it. So the first one on Cybertron, Blue Streak, Cliffjumper, Blur are pinned down after being discovered by the Decepticons. I think it's Thundercracker is taking the piss out of them for the most. Or no, Thundercracker's on Earth. It was a Blue Seeker. I don't know who it was then. Unless he got to Cybertron somehow. I don't know. Anyway, a blue Decepticon Seeker is laying waste to them and keeping them pinned down. Blue Streak is radioing Elita 1 saying, Elita, where are you? Like, we're screwed here. Come on, we need help. All of a sudden, this Autobot bursts out of nowhere and takes the piss out of the Decepticons and drives them away, and really gives them the number. And doesn't say who he is, and I don't recognize him at all. It's kind of, he looks like a cross between, like, he's got Trailbreaker's body, a head more like Wheeljack's, and then the coloring of like maybe a Star Saber or something like that. Really weird character I've never seen before, so I had no idea who this is, if he's just made up for this comic series. So he shows up and does that to the Decepticons, and Elita 1's like, I think we may have just turned the tide, boys. The next arc in the San Juan Islands, as we know, Beachcomber and RC, Spike and Carly had caught up to Ultra Magnus last issue, I think it was. And so, and if they found him, had built this little fortress of solitude. So they're kind of discussing with him the current events, and Ultra Magnus is really struggling after being tortured by Soundwave or Shockwave for, I don't know however many decades it was. He doesn't know what to believe anymore. He doesn't trust anyone. He feels very adrift and lost after losing that much time and going through that much trauma. So Spike and Carly and Beachcomber and those guys, they're like, you're not alone. Like, we've all had bad things happen. You're not, we're here for you, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, Ultra Magnus is like, huh? And then a bunch of human, like Marines or SWAT or something attack. And he's like, and he's laying waste to all the humans. And the Transformers and Spike and Carly are like, Magnus, no, they're just humans. They don't know what they're doing. Like, just stop. But he can't. He's too fucking whacked out. So he lays waste to the humans. Some helicopters go down. Carly, I think, gets injured in the fighting. So Beachcomber gets away with Spike. And Spike is like, Carly. And RC's like, I got her. But then RC and Carly don't survive kind of the shrapnel from the battle of Ultra Magnus and all these humans, and in the end the humans kind of win. They take Carly and Ultra Magnus away with them, both of them injured, and then RC's kind of left in the wreckage to kind of watch it all happen, sort of thing. And then the biggest arc is taking place in Seattle. If you remember, the Autobots are fighting the 2 factions of the Decepticons, kind of thing. More so, the 2 Decepticon factions are fighting each other, with just the Autobots there to be on damage control and take their pot shots when they can. It's Bruticus and Devastator fighting through the downtown streets of Seattle, and the Autobots are basically just trying to, like I said, do damage control, shuffle humans out of harm's way, and just kind of guide this fight away from the most sites of chaos it could cause. And in the meantime, Soundwave's forces are fighting against Starscream's forces, so that's creating kind of this crossfire that is otherwise interfering with the Bruticus Devastator fight with the Autobots kind of babysitting them. And so in the end, it's kind of a cool sequence. It's almost like a King Kong thing. Devastator climbs one side of this huge skyscraper, and Bruticus climbs the other, and then they start fighting on top of it. And it literally looks like Devastator is giving Bruticus an RKO Randy Orton style off the top of this building as they're plummeting to the ground. It looks fucking awesome. And then in terms of the two Decepticons battles that are going on, this is where the issue kind of ends. If you remember last issue, or maybe the issue before, I can't remember when, but Megatron was lying in some far off place, kind of wrecked and blind and whatever, and then Laserbeak found him, and he was able to attach Laserbeak to him and be able to see through Laserbeak. He shows up at the battle while Soundwave and Starscream have literally come to blows, and they both kind of turn and go like, the fuck? So Soundwave is like, Megatron, you're back. Welcome, and bows to him and sort of thing. And Megatron gives him Ravage and says, my loyal minion, like, thank you. Meanwhile, Starscream is like, Astro Train, let's get the fuck out of here, sort of thing. So Starscream is not bowing to Megatron, as he never tends to do. So the Decepticon issue has gone away, at least Starscream's side of it. So I don't know where this leaves the whole battle between Bruticus, Devastator, the Autobots, and now Megatron and his forces are there too. So this battle may shift. It may just dissipate with Starscream kind of being run off. I don't know, but I can't wait to see what happens there. And yeah, I'm really curious to see who that mysterious Autobot on Cybertron is, and also to see what happens to poor Carly and Ultra Magnus as they are taken away by the humans, probably for some light probing, right? Last up, my motherfuckers, G.I. Joe, the real American hero. First up, a cool new sub-series that's going to last, I think, 5 issues, I read. I won't show it to you yet. I'll give you a bit of backstory on this. So back in the original G.I. Joe run of the 1980s, which I collected as a kid, and I've been trying to complete so badly, there was issue number 21 of that original A Real American Hero run was a very special issue. And I read it was because they were behind on the timeline and they wanted to get something out. So they did this for that reason, so that they could get it done faster and easier. So the issue was focused fully on Snake Eyes. And if you know Snake Eyes' character, he doesn't talk. So he's always silent, and he's a stealthy ninja. So he's just got this really, such a great aura about him. Like you ask 9 out of 10 G.I. Joe fans, who's your favorite character? Snake Eyes, right? Like, he is that cool. So because he doesn't talk, they decided to take out all of the talking in the issue. So it's just a fully silent issue. The action being, the story being told by the way the drawings are done, and the action that Snake Eyes gets up to, and all the movements and stuff like that. It was such a cool issue at the time. At the time, you don't really realize how important it is or how cool it is, but years later, it becomes this thing, you know. So this latest sub-series is inspired by that issue 21 of the No Talking. So it is called G.I. Joe Silent Missions. So there's no talking at all in this issue. And the character you see on the front there is Beachhead. He was one of the last G.I. Joe classified characters that I unboxed for if you wanted to go check him out. I think in the last video, maybe second last. So Beachhead, the action starts, it doesn't say where it is. It looks like it's some war-torn country like Lebanon or some shit like that. These kind of broken down buildings and people kind of scavenging in the streets and shit. Beachhead is falling from the sky. This helicopter is crashing, and he's kind of fighting with 2 different Cobra operatives in the air, and they finally land, and he's handcuffed. He's been taken captive, obviously, but he's made something happen here. And they end up crashing to the ground, and so he ends up having to fight off these 2 Cobra troopers while handcuffed. And witnessing this action is this really young boy and his older sister, and they can tell that Cobra is the bad guy, and they can see Beachhead is in tight with 2 guys and being handcuffed, so they decide to help him out and get him through this. In the end, he does get injured pretty badly, but they end up getting him through it, fending off these Cobra troopers and nursing him back to the health. The girl goes to the market with some I guess equipment she found off the Cobra troopers after they were defeated. She takes that to like the local trade-in guy to get your rations or whatever. And so he sees this stuff and he's like, oh, that's pretty valuable. So I'll give you this food and this radio is what she wanted. So she goes back and you can see this brother sister and Beachhead kind of spending a bit of time together and getting to know each other and like each other and enjoy hanging out and appreciating, you know, what they did for him, sort of thing. But they know trouble's coming, so they form a plan. And as a bunch of, I think it's alley vipers, approach their location, Beachhead obviously foots the main bill in dealing with them in all the violence, but the brother and sister have these roles to play during while the action unfolds to kind of distract them or decoy them or you know, help launch attacks on them, sort of thing. But Beachhead keeps them mostly away from most of the harm. And so they do this for long enough, cause enough distractions, are just about to get confronted by the alley vipers in a bad way. And that's when a G.I. Joe Tomahawk helicopter swoops in. I believe Scarlet, Lift Ticket, and Leatherneck are the ones in the helicopter. No, not Lift Ticket. Shit, what's the medic's name? Christ, I forget his name. Lift Ticket's the guy who flies the Tomahawk. Lifeline is the other one in the helicopter. So they bring all these alley vipers to heal and get away with Beachhead, extract him, and they bring along the brother sister to I guess probably get them out of there and thank them for a job well fucking done. Last up, issue 315 of the regular series. So this one's got a few things going on. It starts off with Destro in the basement dungeons of his lair in Scotland, where he's got Cobra Commander chained to the wall and says, "Oh, Cobra Commander, you're in for it." And just how in for it you are is if the Baroness can be brought through this injury or not. So, and then we see Destro welcome a surgeon to his castle. Just no nonsense. Go save Baroness, please. Everything's prepped and ready to go. Save my love, sort of thing. So that's what's happening in Destro and Cobra Commander's world. Now, well, Destro is also entertaining this nurse or surgeon and stuff. He gets a video call from one of his Iron Grenadiers, I believe it is. And he's kind of running down the situation in Springfield. Like, we won the battle. The mutants have calmed down. All the cyber revenge cyber bots or whatever are being, you know, acquiescing and stuff. So everything here is calm, whatever. So he's just reporting back on the situation. In the meantime, it flips to Cobra Island, where we see that weird, creepy, crawly droid thing that commands Revenge. They arrive on a stealth bomber on Cobra Island and go to the casino and basically are talking about everything that went down and what they're going to do to take advantage of the situation of all the different parties that were in on this big skirmish. And they come with an antidote for all the people that got turned into zombie freaks at the casino that are innocents. But then all of the mutants that became like soldiers and stuff like that are currently in Springfield being rounded up by Destro's forces. They're like, ooh, you're too much of a liability with what you know and, you know, what you can accomplish if you turn against us, sort of thing. Is so he presses the switch and all their heads blow up. So meanwhile, while Destro's talking to his Iron Grenadier about the situation in Springfield, all their heads blow off while Destro's on cam, and they're all like, what the fuck, sort of thing. And then there's a third kind of arc going on, and it's in Pensacola, Florida, where Muskrat, I think it's Muskrat, Leatherneck, Helix, and one other Joe are swimming in off the shore with the thing that contains Serpentor Khan's body that he was being transported in, that they liberated and before their crash. And they also had the mutant zombie Dr. Mindbender with them. So they crawl out of the beach in Pensacola, and the authorities are alerted that there's terrorists or something, and they pull up and they're like, what the fuck is going on here? So the Joes have to stand down. In the meanwhile, they load up Serpentor Khan's coffin thing into an ambulance, as well as Dr. Mindbender, because they're like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? But when Mindbender gets in there and the ambulance takes off, he fights these two orderlies, right? He's a big fucking mutant, Dr. Mindbender. They just stand no chance. And then he gets in the cab with the driver and is like, this is mine now, thank you. So while Dr. Mindbender is getting away, the Joes to the cops are like, oh my god, okay, call the Pentagon. Tell them you need Sector G and say, knowing is half the battle. And you'll find out that we're legit. So the guy calls through, gets the Pentagon, gets to this, and goes, oh, okay, sorry boys, you're free to go, sort of thing. But in the meantime, like I said, Mindbender has escaped. And just as the... or no, there's a fourth arc. I forgot about this one. Somewhere in New Jersey, I believe, all the ninjas. So Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Scarlet, Jinx. There's one other one in there, I think. Dawn. They all arrive at the pit. So they've rebuilt a pit in New Jersey, and they go down the levels. You can see the classic floors with the artillery on one level and then the training on another. It's such a cool structure. It's become so legendary to me, the pit. And then they come to the new dojo in this new pit, and so all of them are basically having like a ceremony to like christen this new dojo in the name of their clan and that sort of thing. And then as the issue ends off, the last thing we see is one quick little sequence between Destro and Cobra Commander, with Destro approaching Cobra Commander and going, today's your lucky day, Cobra Commander. Baroness made it through her surgery just fine. She's going to be A-okay. Now how's about me and you discuss the new relationship between Cobra and Mars Industries? So, times, they are a-changin'.
Meow.